and welcome to Sunday morning, second week of January.
It is.
It's been a pretty crazy week, isn't it?
It has. Life is very different.
I hope you're doing
than
okay.
We were expecting it to be. Yeah. For lots of you, life will have perhaps changed quite a lot. If you've got kids at home, that you are home educating or homeschooling or something
Surviving.
Of that measure, as we have been all week. Hence, it is the evening, and it may look like the sun is shining, but that's actually a very bright light because it's very dark outside.
And it is the quietest time of the day.
It is the only quiet time of the day, but it's been a good week, and yeah, we've got lots to be thankful for. We hope that you feel that too, and we know that it's really hard at the moment, and we know there are lots of difficult things going on, but we hope that you are still able to find things to be thankful for. So last week we talked about hope.
We did.
And then had our hope stretch, shall we say,
challenge
during the week. And this week we are coming to a new, just kind of mini series that we're going to come to, where we're going back to look at the book called The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry, which James, my lovely assistant, will now show you.
Oh, yeah, there is.
He's going to wave the book at you.
It is.
If you haven't got a copy of this book, and you've joined us since we looked at it back in September, we would love to share it with you. We'd love to encourage you to read it. If you've got a copy but you haven't got very far in it yet, we'd love you to just persevere with that and then just read with us over the next 4 weeks a chapter on Sabbath, because that's what we're going to be looking at.
Yes, I'm really excited, actually. I know we've been practicing it.
We've been having a go, shall we say. Yes, which is all
we've started implementing it trying to put it into our routine of our week, haven't we?
We have since about September, just after we first read this book, and then we've been sharing it with you guys as our church family. The reason that we're going through this very slowly is because the whole book is about unhurrying, and if you haven't read it, we'd love you to. There's just so much just wisdom and just really good stuff in it, and we are now looking at the 4 practices that the author, John Mark Comer, suggests to us as starting points for unhurrying in the way of Jesus. Because actually it's saying, well, we've got this problem of hurry. Is there a practice from the way of Jesus, who we are trying to live like, that is going to help us to unhurry? And of course the answer is yes. And so he's giving us 4 as starting points. We looked at silence and solitude back in the autumn, and we've had a big gap. We've done lots of other things, and now we're coming back to it just to look at Sabbath. And the reason that we're doing it really slowly is because we don't want to hurry, but also because these things that we're going to have a go at, hopefully you're going to have a go at them with us, they just take time to kind of practice, have a go at, start to become part of your routine, and we want to give space for that to happen.
Yeah.
So James, what is a Sabbath?
So Sabbath comes down to the word, or was taken from the Hebrew word Shabbat, and Shabbat means stop. So It's a day of stopping, basically.
Yeah, day of stopping or resting. Yeah.
But if you think of day of stopping, it's not just a day of stopping as in it's not like a day off. It's different.
Yeah.
But this is a day of stopping where we stop worrying.
Ooh, okay.
We stop wanting things.
Okay. No online shopping.
No online shopping. And it's a time of resting and abiding in God's presence and enjoying all that He's created for us and all that we see around us.
Okay, so just to clarify, it's not a day off where I do the washing, clean the bathroom, do all the groceries and the errands and fix people's broken things. It's different
like
to that.
It's totally different from that.
Okay.
And so if we were to look at where it comes from, if you look at Genesis 2, it's actually built into the fabric of the world and the rhythm of the world. So you have the Sabbath is about God resting after He created the world, and making it holy.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Did God need to rest? Was He tired?
No, I think He was doing it because He created it for the world. He knew this. The DNA of resting and the importance of resting for us as humanity, to as we take on board what's going on around us, that actually as we do the work, because remember He called us to work and take care of the world. Actually, there was a point where He wanted us to rest and enjoy His presence and what He'd created around us.
Okay, so the day of rest was like him giving us a pattern.
Yes.
For life. Absolutely. Of how we should do things.
And the interesting thing is, if you look at the writer of Hebrews, they speak of this, speak of the Sabbath and the spirit of restfulness, and the fact that in Hebrews 4:11, they say, make every effort to enter that rest. So actually, the funny thing is, we're having to work hard to rest well.
Oh, okay.
We're having to work hard to rest well, which I think is a really interesting thing, because I think sometimes we do find it really hard to rest well.
Yeah.
I can get so distracted so quickly. I mean, we talked about that last year, didn't we?
Yes. Yeah, we do get distracted very quickly. So it's right at the beginning of the Bible, in Genesis, and then we revisit it in the New Testament. But it comes up in the Ten Commandments as well, doesn't it?
It does. Yes. Yeah. Do you want to unpack that?
So, I just found this really interesting, because when I was reading the book, John Mark Comer points out that there are 10 commandments, and you would think that perhaps then 10% of that passage belongs to each one of the commandments. But in actual fact, the commandment to keep the Sabbath holy and to observe it takes up 30% of the commandments. And so, actually kind of statistically, God was speaking and saying, this is so important, guys. Like, yes, all the others are important, but I really want you to get a handle on this, because this is life-giving. And that's what the 10 Commandments were for, weren't they? Because they were supposed to give us the way to do life well. And he spent 3/10 of it talking about one of the 10 Commandments, which was...
And if you go back to the Genesis 2 section, it's the one of the places that he blessed. So he blessed the animals, he blessed humanity, and then he blessed the day.
Yeah, that's
true. So actually, the blessing was all about procreation, about having more.
Yeah.
And so actually, the Sabbath, the creation of Sabbath, was to bring life.
Yeah, more life in us by resting. Okay.
So one of the other words of Sabbath that John Mark Comer talks about is the fact that Shabbat also can be seen from the word delight.
Okay.
So it's about stopping and delighting in that day.
Oh, I like that.
Which is nice, isn't it?
Yeah, that's great.
So what does he say? So we're going through these exercises, these next 4 weeks. So what does John Mark Comer talk about in these exercises? So looking at exercise 1, what was the thing?
Okay, so we are using a workbook, which you can find online if you just Google it. And these exercises aren't actually in the book, but the reading the chapter is going to give you that picture of the background knowledge of it. And then John Mark Comer has kind of broken those down into how can we have a go at kind of implementing this aspect of unhurrying into our lives. So we're going to look at exercise 1 of Sabbath. Yeah. And we want to say, even if you go and look up this workbook, please, he says, don't try them all at once, because it's just like, we've been doing this for 4 months now, and we're still really at stage 1, okay, in our family. So he's got these kind of 4 things. There's the stopping and the delighting.
Yes.
And he says the stopping is also important, that it's rest.
Yeah.
So if something's not restful for you, it's not for the Sabbath. No. It's stopping and resting, and it's delighting, and it's worshipping, because it's a day for the Lord. And when you read the scriptures about the Sabbath, that comes out that it's a day for the Lord, and that is what it's intended to be. So part 1 of exercise 1 that we're going to look at today, and we're going to ask you to consider whether you could start having a discussion about this in your household or your family, or just for yourself if you're on your own, but whatever your circumstances, what could this start to look like for you? So the first thing is that it's supposed to be a 24-hour period.
Right. Okay.
So traditionally for the Jews, this would have been sundown on Friday night to sundown on Saturday night. We actually as a family are trying to keep a similar thing, because it's the point in the week that we feel works the best for us. But for you guys, it could be a Sunday. Growing up for me, it was Sunday, but we didn't call it Sabbath, interestingly. So this kind of language is all quite new to me. But Sunday was a day of rest. And for a lot of us growing up, that was partly because the shops were closed and we just didn't do work things on those days. But nowadays, it's a day where, especially at home, online, we can work 24/7, can't we? So this idea of a 24-hour period, whenever it works best for you. So that's going to be part of your discussion, we hope, after this morning and going through this week, is where could you start to look at a 24-hour period or something close to that for your family or your household, or for you, whatever that looks like, at some point during the week. And we know it's going to be different for different people at different life stages. If you work shifts, it's going to be different sort of thing.
And it might not be, to start with, 24 hours. It might be shorter than that.
Might be shorter than that.
There's no right or wrong in that sense.
So, but the hope here is that if possible, you can establish a regular rhythm of it being the same time every week. So it becomes a habit and a kind of, regular waypoint in your week. And
actually, on that point, wasn't it interesting that Nathaniel the other day, last week, had a real challenge with the day, because we'd done the meal differently.
Yeah, so part of what John Mark Comer suggests that and traditionally for the Jews would have been part of Sabbath would have been the Shabbat meal, the Sabbath meal, something special. And so we in our family have sort of created a meal that everybody loves. It involves bacon and hash browns and waffles and all sorts
maple
of things.
Syrup.
Fried eggs. And the other week we didn't have all of that stuff in, and I just got to the point where I was like, I just cannot go to the shops anymore. So we had something different, and one of our kids just really struggled because we had missed out this routine part of what we have created and what his expectation of Sabbath was. So things that you could do in the Sabbath. So we've got this hopefully maybe an idea of a 24-hour period when you've had that sort of discussion, and then the idea is that we look at how do we begin it and how do we end it, and we start to create some routines or almost rituals. Now, we might not like that word, but
it's quite an old word, isn't it?
It is quite an old word, but it's really just like, those habits that are really good, like reading a story at bedtime to your child is a really part of a good bedtime routine, and it signals something. And so the things that we're going to sort of think about are how do we signal the beginning of Sabbath, that kind of moment of entering into the rest and the delight, and then how do we sort of end it well so that we say, be grateful for the rest and the delight that we've had as we enter into the week again. So some traditional and modern practices might be to light some candles. 2 commandments, 2 candles often is symbolic in Sabbath for remember and observe the Sabbath. And it's about setting, just sort of marking that point. So you might have some candles, you might have a special meal, you might pray a blessing over one another, somebody might read a psalm. You're not going to want to do all of these, but you're going to pick things that work for your family. It might be that if Sunday is your Sabbath, that coming and joining church, whether we're online or in person, is part of that, because that's then worship. You're worshipping together with church family. So there's lots of different things that you could do to mark the beginning and to kind of create some of these rhythms and habits that kind of demarcate the beginning and the end of your Sabbath. So mark out 24-hour period. Yeah. Think about how you could mark the beginning and the end. And then really just part 3 of that is just to have a go at it. So you've had your discussion. When could we have a go? You've had a discussion. Well, we could start by doing so. Just to say, after 4 months, we are still saying, well, what do our rituals look like? What do our
do they work?
Good habits
can we
look
change
like?
them?
Yeah, can we change them? We've changed them lots of times, haven't we? And we're still trying to kind
make
of
it more effective.
Make it something that really feels special to us as a family. But then really the third part of this just is having a go this week is just to have a go at what does it look like for us to stop and rest and delight and worship for a day. And for everybody, that's going to look different. It looks different to our 4-year-old than it looks to us. And sometimes that's hard, but we are just continually just trying to work at that so that it is a restful day for everybody, but it's also a day full of delight and being together. And that can
for me, my things. Delight in my Sabbath, because we did Sabbath today, of course.
Yeah.
Was actually dancing around with Kezzy. We had this nice time with some worship music, and we danced together to the worship music.
That was really good. And then he slept on the sofa for 2 hours, so he had a really good rest. Napping is also written down here, just so that you know, as part of Sabbath.
I enjoyed that bit.
And that's really good. So you might want to go for a walk, you might want to sing, you might not want to sing. So it's just all these things, but it's saying this is a gift from God, where he is saying it will bless you in your life to have this day where you stop and you rest and you delight and you worship. And we are just saying, how about having a discussion and maybe trying it in the next week if you possibly can, and just having a go at it, really. So there's no right way to do it. It's going to look different for all of us. It's not a to-do list. It's not like you have to tick them off and say we managed all these things. And if you're finding it difficult, it's like the questions to look at, really, you were going to share. If you're sort of thinking, I don't even know what a day like that would look like, you could ask yourselves these questions.
So John Mark brings us to 3 questions. He says, what is restful for me? What brings me an easy delight? And what is a worshipful way I connect with God?
Yeah.
I think my reflection on having done it for a while, I think the one thing I found interesting is the fact that it's difficult to Sabbath if I don't slow down during the week.
Yeah. So just so that you know, after this week of going into homeschooling and just dealing with everything, I was so exhausted yesterday being Friday for us because we're filming this on Saturday.
Send her to bed.
That James came in from working all morning, as he had been in his office, and he came in and I was making lunch for everyone and he just went, do you go and have a lie down? And I was like, I think I just need some quiet on my own. I was absolutely exhausted. And I just went upstairs and I just lay in bed.
But the reason as much as I did it because I love my wife, was actually because I knew that Sabbath would be a better experience had you slowed down towards... Because one of the things I found is if I've worked really hard throughout the week and then I've tried to slow down on Sabbath, it's like, putting brakes on a train that's traveling 100 miles an hour. You just can't do it. And you end up slowing down on the point where you're just about to stop.
Yeah, so I was in a much better place today to kind of enjoy the day and delight and worship because I'd had a rest yesterday afternoon. Now, we can't all do that. I know that I was incredibly privileged that James was able to not work.
And we don't do that every Friday either.
No, it just was a particularly busy week. But it really is a sense of like looking at it as a gift from God, not something that we have to do. There's no law. Jesus doesn't say we have to do it. But it's a gift from God that we can choose to enter into. It's created for us. Jesus says, doesn't he, that Sabbath was made for the man, not man for the Sabbath, because in those days the Pharisees had created all these laws around it and it was becoming a burden to people. And Jesus was saying that's not the intention. It's not supposed to be that we are here to keep the Sabbath. It's that the Sabbath is a gift for us from God to bless our lives. And so we just want to invite you to start having that discussion, really. And I was thinking as well, does it feel really strange to be looking at this week, given that we've just gone into a really strict lockdown? Things are, not looking good in terms of the coronavirus. Things are going on in the country and in the world. So why on earth would it be a good time to do it? But I don't know about you, but for us, life just got a whole lot busier, having the kids at home all the time and, just kind of managing everything. James working from home at the moment and all different things. And that actually it's almost become more important when we could work constantly and we could access the kids' schoolwork 24/7 all day long. And, all these things, it's actually becoming more important for us that we mark out that day and say, this is a day where we don't do jobs. We
don't look at the news.
We don't look at books that need to be read or encourage the kids to do their reading books or anything else. We actually say, God has given us this day. We really, really need to take it. And at this moment in time is as important, if not more important, to kind of have that discussion and think, God is trying to give me this gift and I want to enter into it. So enjoy, have some great discussions, let us know how you get on, and we will see you next week.
See ya. Bye. Hi guys, it's so good to have you this morning, whether it be on Facebook or on Zoom. We are Hemel Vineyard Church and we're just doing life together as we follow Jesus. If you want to be part of that journey, then feel free to come and join us, whether it be on Zoom, again on Facebook next week, or drop us a line and have a conversation with us. We'd love to hear from you. Another place you can find out what's going on would be to check out our website, which is www.hemelvineyard.org.uk. I pray this week that you would know Jesus' love and his presence with you in whatever you face. See you next week. Bye.